Hey guys, so here is my Echo PB251 that I just tuned up this morning. So I got back from my grandparents' house a little while ago. I didn't use this blower, I used the PB500T over there because I just cut their grass. So I've had this blower for 3 years, so it's now starting to go on its 4th season. The blower itself is still in perfect shape, but the fuel lines apparently are now starting to feel a little bit hard, so that kind of means that that they're going to need to be replaced. See, there's 3 fuel lines. There's one for the main line, and then another one, that one there for the primer. And right over there is the one for the fuel vent that you see right over there. So since I just recently ordered some Echo fuel line, I thought I'd go ahead and replace them while I'm at it. So without further ado, we'll get started. Alright, so the first thing that you definitely would want to do is make sure that your machine has no gas in it, which in this case I've already dumped the gas out of it into this empty container of True Fuel. So yeah, the doors are kind of almost wanting to close because it's been very windy. So that's why I'm making this video here in our storage building, just so I won't be fighting the wind. It'd just be real difficult to do all of this. So yeah, to make this a little easier, I'm also going to take the air cleaner off, so that way, as you can see, got easier access to the fuel lines. We'll just get a little closer to all this. Alright, so first we'll just start going ahead and just start pulling these fuel lines out if we can. It's kind of a tight spot. Actually, you know what? I think just to make this one a little bit easier, I think I'm going to actually take this carburetor off of the unit. So I'll be back in a second. Alright, so just to make this one easier to do, I'm going to take the carburetor off just by loosening these Allen bolts. This is using a 4mm Allen wrench. Just going to make this. Just going to loosen both of these up. Alright, just loose enough I can actually get it off by hand. Okay, I think all of this should just come right off. Yep. There we go. So now we got easy access to the carburetor. Alright, now if we can try and get that. There we go. Carburetor was stuck on that gasket. Sometimes these gaskets will sometimes fall off. Make sure that you don't lose it. I think in this case I'm going to undo the throttle cable. Make it a little easier. So here we go. So we got easier access to the fuel lines since I have the carburetor off. Carburetor's a little bit dirty though. Well, on the outside. Alright, so I'm going to just pull these fuel lines off if I can. Alright, so that one's off. Alright, so they're both off. So here's the PB251's carburetor. So this is a, you can see that? Yep, there you go. This is a Zama carburetor. It's a says there an RB series carburetor, and right above here is the model number. You can see right there it's a K90 carburetor. It's made in China, it says right there. Alright, so let me just set the carburetor down for a second, and we'll replace these fuel lines. I'm just going to pull the one for the primer out, and to get the one out for the main line, I'm just going to get my little tool that I like to use to just fish out the line on the inside. Alright, and we'll just see this fuel filter right here is brand new since I just replaced it. We'll just simply pull it right off, and I'll get that little clip off. I'll just pull it from on the inside. Alright, I'll try it this way then. There we go. And also, since you got both of the lines off, it wouldn't be a bad idea to also check the condition of your grommet, which in this case, this one is actually still good. If you would see some cracks on your grommet, then you would need to replace it. Now, let's get over to the fuel vent. We'll just simply pull it right out of its little slot, and it also has its own little grommet. You also want to check its grommet too, which this one is still pretty good too. Alright. So, see if I can get this one off of it. Get this one off of the vent. And it's like kind of fused on there, so usually, like, if you can't get your fuel line off, sometimes you kind of want to take like a razor blade and kind of gently slice the fuel line. You don't want to get too deep, otherwise you can damage the nipple here on the fuel vent. So I don't know if I can try and get this one off. Oh, there we go. Alright, so I'll kind of wipe off this fuel vent, and then we'll start replacing the fuel lines. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do the line for the fuel vent. So the best thing to do is just measure it by put the old line right over to the new one, and then just cut it to length. If I can find my side cutters. Hold on a second. Alright, so I'm just going to measure it to length. And I'll just grab the side cutters, and then we'll just snip the line. Alright. So they look to be the same size. I'll just grab one of these little clips. They're both the same size. Same clips. And kind of wiping off the fuel vent here for a little bit. Alright. Just try to push it right in. Oops, kind of got that clip right at the very end. Didn't really intend to get it right there. Oh. Try this again. There we go. Just try to push it as far as you can. Okay. Try to move that clip back a little bit. And I think that should be good enough. So we're at the fuel vent here. So let's insert it down into its little slot. So it just goes right. Oh, let me move the camera. Sorry about that. Alright, so we've got it, trying to insert it into its little hole. Try and push it down in there. Not too far though, but just enough where you can just get your vent right in there. Just about like that. That should be good enough. Alright, cool. So the size of the line on the both the fuel vent and then also for the main line is 3 millimeters inside diameter by 5 millimeters outside diameter. Okay, so now for the main line where the fuel filter goes. Just going to measure it to length. Okay. Yeah, it's got to take. Alright, so where's my cutters? Oh, there they are. So we'll just cut it to length right about there. Never hurts to kind of leave it a little bit, a little longer. And kind of make this be a little easier to kind of make the lines go into the grommet. I'm going to spray a little bit of WD-40 on the grommet. And then we'll just insert the line. This line, the black line, will go into this hole right here. The primer line will go in that one. So let's see if we can try and press that one right in. If we can. Let's see. Looks like we can't. So if you have a hard time trying to insert the line in, actually cut your line a little bit at an angle, kind of like that. Make it a lot easier. Makes it a heck of a lot easier. And we're starting to go in. So I'll get back to you. I'll just try and get this line in enough where I can try to retrieve it and put the fuel filter back on. Alright, so now I finally got that line to this line here to try to finally get it through. I ended up having to pull off the grommet just to make it a lot easier. So just try to pull the line here with some needle nose pliers. Try to help pull some line out. Now I'll just cut this straight. Where's my side cutters at? There we are. Took me a little while, but I managed to do it. so we got our line cut flat. Alright, let's get our fuel filter. Let me just pull a little bit more out. Alright, so now we'll put our fuel filter back on. Let me switch hands here because I can't do all this stuff left-handed because I'm right-handed. Oh, almost got it. Come on. Alright, so we got the fuel filter in. So now we'll just drop it down inside the tank just to see if whether or not if we have enough line from inside the tank. If we don't have enough, we could always pull out a little bit more. And it's kind of hard to tell, and just by looking, apparently it looks, let me pull out just a tad more. Yeah, there we go. That looks long enough. I know you can't see it, but even though I can, you want the filter to be all the way down to the bottom. Alright, so I know that took me a little while. I don't think I would ever want to do that again. So now finally the primer line. So the size of the primer line is 3 millimeters inside diameter by 6 millimeters outside diameter. Okay. So we'll just measure. We'll just measure up the old primer line, and then I'll cut it up to length. Alright, so I got the primer line cut up to length, and just to make it easier to go into the tank, I'm just going to cut the end at an angle and then insert it in. Let's see if I'll have better luck putting the primer line in than I did with the main line. But you do want to make sure that they do go in tight, or else you could have an air leak. And then I'll try and push more of this in as I can, and we'll put the carburetor back on, and then we'll connect our lines to the carburetor. Alright, so I got the fuel lines all hooked up. Apparently I had to take the grommet off again just to try to slide the primer line through the grommet, apparently. Oh man, some things aren't as easy as they seem. Alright, so now we'll get ready to get this carburetor on. I'm going to go ahead and hook up the fuel lines. This nipple right here, you hook this line onto it. Come on. Alright, so we got it in. Just try and push it in as far as you can. As far as you can, just like that. If you didn't leave out enough fuel line, you could always pull out a little bit more. Now the one for the primer, and again just push it on as far as you can. Or if it doesn't want to try to go in all the way, you could always spray a little bit of WD-40 onto the nipple. And as you can see there, now it goes on a lot easier now. So now we'll get the carburetor all hooked back up. Alright, so now goes in. Let's get our throttle cable all hooked up. So it goes in just like that. And let me get all this together and I'll get back to y'all. Alright, so now getting these bolts back on to the carburetor, and always make sure you tighten these on evenly. So like snug one and then snug the other, just so that way it goes on evenly, just to prevent any air leaks. Yeah, this thing was a lot harder. Changing the fuel lines on this machine was a lot harder than I thought. I even had a hard time trying to get the throttle hooked back up. So it's all hooked up. Okay, so that one's tight. And don't over tighten these because we're screwing them into plastic. But you do want them to be fairly tight. And I can just show you that the throttle does work, just like that. So there's the new lines, that's how they are. I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me move the camera back a little bit and just see that the fuel filter is all the way down to the bottom. That's where you want it at. So throw the air cleaner back on, we'll put some gas in it, and we'll start it up. Alright, we're fueled up, so let's see if it starts. Alright, so we'll turn it on, put on choke, and we'll give it some primes. And she's priming, which that's good. I'll try one more. Alright, set the camera down, and let's see if it starts after doing this for about an hour. About to start on the first one. Well, that's that. Sometimes changing fuel lines in these little small two-stroke engines are fairly easy, but even though one like this was a little bit hard, this one was actually fighting me. Don't know why, but I did manage to get it done. It's hard to believe I've had this blower for almost 3 years. Still runs like brand new. Alright guys, so I think I'm going to go in the house, just clean up. It's almost 5:30 p.m. Alright guys, so hope y'all enjoyed the video. So thanks for watching.